In my book, Get It Together, which you may or may not have heard of, I spoke with people from all walks of life. Ecosexuals, radical feminist sex workers, black supremacists. I've interviewed them all. And today I turn to cults, something many accuse Trump supporters of being in.
So if you believe in states' rights, except when a jury in that state convicts your nominee for president, you might be in a cult. If you claim you back the blue but want to defund the police when the police go to your nominee's house to retrieve national security secrets, you might be in a cult. If you're supporting a guy whose felony convictions prevent him from getting a security clearance, you might be in a cult.
Unlike Swalwell, my next guest is all too familiar with cults. Meet Sarah Edmondson. In 2005, Sarah felt lost, and spiritually and professionally, and so she attended a week-long retreat with a self-help group called NXIVM. Little did she know it was a cult in sheep's clothing. It was run by a guy named Keith Raniere, who pitched himself as a Messiah-like figure and used his power and his position to manipulate and sleep with some of the women in his cult. Although Sarah was not subjected to sex slavery, many others were, she endured over a decade of psychological torture and starvation. She climbed the ranks of NXIVM and went on to co-found a Canadian chapter of the organization. But her time at NXIVM came to an end when she and 3 other women were taken to a hideout in upstate New York and branded with Keith's initials. Sarah went to the FBI in 2017, blowing the whistle on the cult and taking down NXIVM and its leader. Author of Scarred, Sarah Edmondson joins us now. Sarah, tell me about your initial cult initiation. Did you even realize what you were getting yourself into?
Hi, Jesse. No, I didn't. I had no idea. I was 27. This was 2005, way before all of the cult documentaries and podcasts and media that are currently out there about cults. I was attending a personal development seminar similar to Tony Robbins, but smaller.
So when did you realize you were in a cult?
I realized I was in a cult when the special symbol that I'd received on my body as part of an initiation into a sorority, which is what I was told I was doing on the 12th year of my time there. So after many, many years of indoctrination, when I found out that symbol was actually Keith Raniere's initials in a cryptic monogram, which was something that had been withheld from me.
Were you scared before you were branded, or were you all fired up?
Oh, I mean, I was a bit of both. I was, up until that moment when I saw the brand, I thought I was getting a tattoo, so it was a bit of a shock to me. But I also felt a lot of pressure. There was collateral, or blackmail was the actual term, but in NXIVM terms it was called collateral, that was being held over my head to do whatever was being asked of me. And I had a lot of pressure and even internal gaslighting that I said I was going to do whatever it took to be a part of this, so I'm going to do whatever it's going to take.
What was the indoctrination tactic that they used against you?
Oh, so many. I mean, from day one of my first 5-day that I mentioned in 2005, the very first thing that I was taught was, you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're here to grow and you're here to work on yourself, so you're going to feel discomfort, which is true if you've ever done any therapy or work on yourself, and I know that you have. There is moments that are to face parts of yourself that aren't comfortable. It doesn't feel good. So I agreed to that on day one and accepted that this was a hierarchy where the coaches who were teaching me knew more than I did. So that if there was a point where I didn't feel good, or my intuition was saying get out, it was actually, that was the time I needed to lean into things. So that's a very, very dangerous tactic, because my intuition was dismantled, or slowly dismantled, from day one.
What was their goal? What did they want you to do for them in this cult?
Well, Keith ultimately, we believe, I mean, I'm not in his mind, but wants endless money, sex, and power, and power through sex. And some of his earliest harem members were women that he found at the age of 17 whose father had just died, or other members whose fathers were drug addicts or also narcissists. I have a great relationship with my dad, so he wasn't able to get me that way, but I believe that's what he was hoping to do with the branding, which I didn't realize until even I'd gotten out, that that's something that pimps do to the women that they own.
Okay, so it was a pyramid scheme and a sex ring. And it wasn't
Yes.
just regular people. There were celebrities, there were actresses involved in this too.
This is something I need to be really clear when I do media like this, is that yes, it was obviously a sex cult, there was trafficking going on, but that was for like 3% of this group. The rest of the people were in this community that were working on themselves and their goals and trying to be better people and execute certain projects in the world, and using the goals program part of the curriculum to move things forward. But yeah, it was people from all walks of life, including many celebrities in LA and athletes and presidential families, and the Dalai Lama endorsed us at that time.
You just heard Eric Swalwell accuse Trump supporters of being in a cult. Does that ring true to you?
Well, this is what I wanted to say to you, Jesse. And first of all, I'm loving your book, and I'm recognizing so many of the culty aspects of all of the beliefs of everybody on extreme left and extreme right. And I see extreme thinking on all sides of the political spectrum. Both sides are problematic for me because both sides think the other side is culty. And both sides aren't talking to each other, which is why I love your book, because you're willing to have those conversations.
Well, thank you very much for the book endorsement. We endorse your book, Scarred. Congratulations on escaping this horrific cult, and thank you for blowing the whistle. Thank you for going to the FBI. You're very brave, and we're glad you're out of it and you can tell your story, Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Anytime.